Hello everyone, and welcome back to another community update video. It's been a while since we made our last video, and since quite a bit has happened and is still going on, we thought it would be a great time to give you guys an update on what's been going on with Try to Fall Asleep. Just a small heads up though, this one's gonna be a little different from the other update videos that we've previously made. Rather than just talking about the game and all the recent patches that we've done, for this update video, I thought it would be great to dive into the things that surround the game, shed some light on what we've been planning, and share some of our experiences in the last few months. I hope you'll find this stuff interesting and insightful, and who knows, maybe some of this stuff will be useful to other indie developers as well. And to add a bit more context for things, I'd like to begin this video with a small personal update. It's nothing super important, but it'll give you a chance to get to know the lead developer a little better. If you just want to get to the things that directly relate to the game, feel free to skip ahead. Okay, so I haven't talked about this stuff that much publicly, but for the past few years, along with developing the game, I've been studying IT at my uni, and currently I'm 2 semesters in my master's degree. Now, that might already explain why the development is taking its time. At the start of the summer, I decided to take an academic break from uni till February 2023, so that I could fully dedicate myself to the game. I had a few reasons for doing so. Obviously, the main reason was that I wanted to try and pursue my passion in game development and work full-time on Try to Fall Asleep. Studying and working on the game at the same time was doable, but it was really tough to maintain a proper balance between the two, especially when one is way more fun and fulfilling than the other. Although IT and game development do share some similarities, studying and working on the game at the same time felt like I was working on 2 careers simultaneously. It was pretty much like walking 2 different paths at the same time. I'm better at focusing on one thing at a time, so for me it was better to just choose one path and try to stick to it as much as I can. Another thing that influenced me to take a break from uni and fully focus on TTFA was the pandemic. I've gotten used to online classes by now, but like for many others, it was just incredibly demoralizing, and staying home due to lockdowns all the time was also, not fun. Things got really stale, and I really felt like I needed a change. I was hoping that by taking a small break, things would finally return to normal, and at least have a few classes in person. But thanks to our warmongering neighbor, another crisis is already upon us with sky-high energy prices. My university can't afford to keep its campus warm during the winter, so everything is still happening online. Till March 2023 apparently. All of these things just kinda kept building up, ripping me apart mentally. So I decided, fuck it, I'm gonna take a chance and try to see where it goes. So here we are today. In short, I'm doing okay. I think I'm gonna be fine, and besides uni, I'm very much looking forward to the future of Try to Fall Asleep. Anyway, let's change the subject to something else. Now that I've been able to go full-time on the game, what has happened since then? Well, the first thing that I had to do was broaden my field of view for the entire project. For me, developing the game has always been at the center of everything. But at the end of the day, it is a business as well, and if I want my game to succeed, it became clear that just focusing on the development of the game would not be enough. I realized that I couldn't just rely on YouTubers to do all the marketing for the game, and I had to find another way to increase our funding for the game, so that we could maintain the quality that we've set, and maybe even make it possible to sustain ourselves in the future. So I tried to come up with an overarching strategy that would cover all the main 3 pillars: game development, funding, and marketing. And I think I've ended up with something very cool. One of the first things that I wanted to tackle is the subject of publishers, to see if anyone would be interested in supporting our game. Now I can tell you right away that we weren't able to strike a deal with anyone, but in the end, going through that process was still very much worth it. It taught me a lot of things about the gaming industry, how to better sell your ideas, and in a weird way, it sort of helped me to be more confident in my work. Thanks to a business accelerator program, I was able to attend Gamescom this August. Although I really wanted to announce it properly on Twitter and everywhere else, I kinda unintentionally ended up keeping it a secret. The reason I didn't announce it publicly was that I wasn't 100% sure that I'd be able to go, and it's all because a week ago before the trip I got COVID. So being very cautious about spreading the disease, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to fully recover in time and test negative before I go. Luckily, right the day before the flight, I took a test which came out negative and I was good to go. My main mission at Gamescom was to seek publishers and try to pitch my game to them in person. I also did a bit of networking, exchanging some knowledge and experience with other game developers. I mainly attended the business side of Gamescom, but I did get a little peek at the main public event as well. I got to know a lot of publishers. Some of them I've heard before, some of them have published some of my favorite games, and there were many publishers that I've never heard of before. After roaming around the venue and doing a bit of research on each publisher, I think I did close to 10 pitches, both in person and via email. It might not seem that much, but I tried to pitch to those publishers who would have been the best fit for our game. And yeah, not all publishers are the same. Most of them have a specific target audience that they aim for, or they just want to publish games that fit their catalog. That's why I tried to not go overboard with the pitches. Unfortunately, almost every single publisher was completely booked, so I was only able to pitch to a few publishers in person. And on top of that, it got a bit convoluted with secret secondary business matchmaking platforms for which you had to pay $50 to use. I learned about it a bit too late, but if anyone else plans to attend these kinds of conferences, you should try to learn about this stuff beforehand. Anyway, from those 10 or so pitches, I got about 5 to 6 replies. Most of them shared a very positive impression of the game, and some even said that they would love to support our next future project. But for trying to fall asleep, unfortunately they all turned it down. What's interesting though is that they all turned it down for the same reason, because the game was already in early access. Now there might be a lot of angles to this, and my knowledge in this is limited, but at least I'll try to share my thoughts and try to figure out what might be going on here. If someone has a better insight in this topic, then feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. From what I've seen, early access in the publisher world is treated as a big release for the game. You have a game that is in a playable state, and you're ready to sell a playable work-in-progress portion of it. It's a way to get the game to the players early, and in return get some early feedback. But specifically for publishers, they get to have their very first return on investment, and they can then evaluate if the game is worthy for going for a full release. What I think might be the issue here is that because the game is already partially released in early access, they've lost one of their biggest waves of income. It's also possible that they might find it difficult to make the full release as popular as the early access release. But wait, shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't the full release be a bigger deal? There might be other incentives in this as well, like what to do with the earnings that we already have, uncertainties about the ownership and bookkeeping, and so on. I never really got a chance to further discuss this with the publishers themselves though, and none of them elaborated beyond their main reason for the game being in early access already. What's worth pointing out though is that from the publisher side, none of them shared any concerns about the game's ability to achieve popularity, quality, or financial success. I think if they would have had those concerns, they would have said so in their emails. And neither of them would have shared any interest in working with us on future projects. Maybe they weren't being completely honest. Maybe it's just the way it is in this industry. Well, I think it's safe to say that it's just kinda stupid. It's also possible that the publishers just didn't care to elaborate, as they usually get tons of pitches every day. And I do want to make it clear that we're okay with not getting a deal from a publisher. It's just a bit frustrating that they wouldn't tell us specifically why. So that's my 2 cents on it. Anyways, that wraps up the topic about the publishers. I hope I didn't bore you to death with it, and I do hope that it made at least some sense. Now it's time to bring in that overarching plan that I mentioned before. I'm not ready to share a lot of information yet, but I do want to at least give you a glimpse and a rough idea on what we are working on. It's gonna be a bit of a challenge to put everything together, but I believe we can do it, and I believe we have a decent chance to succeed. Now that we most likely won't be teaming up with a publisher, we mainly needed to figure out how to fund and market the game ourselves. And, well, there aren't that many options to choose from, and really only one option made the most sense, which is to make another crowdfunding campaign. So yes, although I'm not ready to go into any specifics just yet, I can confirm that we are indeed working on a new crowdfunding campaign. Some of you might remember that we already had a shot at this, and naturally you might want to ask, why do it again? Well, the idea to do it again kinda sparked from the talks with the publishers. One of the main reasons we were looking for a publisher was to find some extra funding to help out with the development of the game. The publishers who couldn't provide that funding suggested that we could just do a crowdfunding campaign instead. Originally, I wasn't a big fan of this idea because I felt that we already had a shot at it, and it would be much more devastating to fail a second time. But as time went on and I was encouraged by other fellow indie developers, my opinion kinda slowly started to change. And as we went through each publisher and they too were suggesting it, it all started to solidify, and we started to think that we should just do it ourselves and try not to get any unnecessary publishers involved. Another benefit for doing a second time is that we can learn from the past mistakes of our first try and use that to improve the things for the second attempt. I think the campaign itself for our first try was alright, but the biggest reason why it flopped was because we barely put any effort into marketing the thing. At the time, we thought we had a decent following, and we thought that if it was good enough, it would just spread by word of mouth. Obviously, in retrospect, that was a very naive and dumb idea. That's what we're gonna try to do right this time. Simplify the main campaign and put more effort into marketing and spreading awareness to it. So what are we going to do for marketing? Well, unfortunately, that's where I really can't share that many details about it at all. This is where we have all the cool ideas, and it's thanks to those ideas that we have so much faith and motivation for doing this campaign in the first place. Now, I do understand that marketing may sound very corporate and business oriented, but it really is important. The sole purpose of marketing is to bring awareness of something to people and make them want to buy that thing, or in our case, support the development of a game. Marketing is actually a very broad term. You can approach it in many different ways, from plain ads, billboards, and banners, to something a lot more creative, fun, and unique. Now, we can't afford to do a Call of Duty drone shot of a ship that has a giant poster on it, but we can do our own unique thing. We're gonna try to do something that's actually interesting, cool, and creative. We want it to be more than just an advertisement for the game and its crowdfunding campaign. It'll be something that can stand on its own, and it'll be a perfect fit for the game. And again, sorry, but that's all I can say about it, at least for now, of course. I want it to be a surprise for you guys, and once you all see it, I think you'll really enjoy it. We've already put a lot of effort into it, and actually, we've been working on it since June, so we can't wait for you to finally experience it. Though let's just hope that Revival won't get too upset with what's about to happen. So yeah, that covers our main future plans. When the right time comes, we'll share more details about the crowdfunding campaign and other things as well, of course. Now let's check out what people have submitted for this video's Q&A. Lepson asks, will we be planning new patches? Will a full release of Night 5 and 6 release in 2023? Well, there will be future patches of course, but we don't necessarily plan them out. We usually check the Steam discussions in our Discord server for bug reports or any kind of player feedback. We try to write down everything we change or fix in a list, and once we've compiled a decent list of changes and fixes, we put it together in a patch and release it on Steam. Right now the game is in a pretty good state, and since we're heading into a new year with very ambitious plans, the rate of new patches will slightly slow down. About the last 2 nights, it all depends on how well the crowdfunding campaign will go. If all goes well, it would be really awesome if we could finish the game within a year. Slon Noxon asks, any plans to add achievements in the game that will be connected to Steam? We've actually been slowly putting together a small spreadsheet for our ideas for achievements. Currently, it's more important for us to focus on the last 2 nights, so it will take a bit of time for them to arrive. But rest assured, we do have plans for achievements. Arion K04 asks, where can we expect the last 2 nights to take place? So we're new? I'm asking because for the first 4 nights, every location we have been in has been shown at an earlier time. But for the last 2 nights, we no longer have any suitable direction or hint to tell us where it's gonna be. Well, you'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we know that the big explosion is coming very soon, and John's memory is getting close to being fully restored as well. Though, on the 4th night, there is one tiny overlooked detail that hints of what's to come in the next night. But that's all I can say. There will be a mix of familiar and a lot of new places. And that's all for this update video. Thank you all for watching till the end. Hopefully some of this stuff was interesting and insightful. 2023 is shaping up to be a very ambitious, challenging, and very exciting year for us. So stay tuned for more news in a not too distant future, and I hope you all have a great sleep tonight.